Is creativity dead? Do we live in a zombie culture? Well, I started thinking these thoughts when I just watched the State of Play a few days ago. And I thought to myself, wow, where were the games that intrigued everybody? Where were the games that made everyone excited? Fucking nothing. I think the closest thing that we found, or I found, that was anything of interest was Monster Hunter and what was it? Something else. I forget. Yeah, it's pretty much Monster Hunter actually, because everything else was either a remake or a game that nobody knew. It's bad. It really makes you wonder what has happened to creativity? Where is creativity? Is it even there? Does it even exist anymore? Because every day I see something that's just the same or a remake. Like, for example, during the State of Play, do you know that there was going to be a remake of Metal Gear Solid? You know, Snake Eater? Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater? And I don't particularly have an issue with remakes, but to say that they're new games, quote unquote, new games, I'm just so tired of it. It's not new. It's the rehashing of old ideas that were good. This is even the same thing in the movie industry. When was the last time you saw a good movie? I don't even remember. The last time I went to a movie theater was when Dune came out. And Dune itself is essentially a new version of the previous old movies that didn't really follow the stuff correctly. Well, there are a lot of creative issues with the first Dune movies. That was the last time I watched a movie. That was years ago. Look at Marvel. That shit is rancid. Then you have other stuff, such as media that people do not want and did not ask for. I.e., during a State of Play, fucking Borderlands 4. Who the fuck asked for another Borderlands? I didn't. Neither did you. Because Borderlands 3, sorry, it wasn't that good. I didn't like it, and the jokes were not funny. It was millennial writing. It was lame. Very lame. Another example, the Indiana Jones movie. I bet half of you motherfuckers don't even remember that. I barely remember it. The Dial of Destiny, was it? I forget. But nobody asked for a remake or a new movie of all this shit that people do not want. What has happened to creativity? Well, it's a bit of a difficult thing to try and pinpoint where exactly creativity started to just go down the drain. In the early 2000s, I would say that there was still good media out there and Hollywood still possessed some level of creativity. But obviously, in the 2010s and even in the 2010s, we started seeing this decline of creativity and quality in movies and art, in games, and all sorts of things. And one can certainly attribute it to essentially artistic pursuit done by committee. Artistic pursuit done by committee. So that's why you get all these crappy remakes like Ghostbusters, even though I'm quite sure pretty much people are done with Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is not an IP that's worth saving, in my opinion. I think it's done and over with. You can't keep reviving an IP like that. And Indiana Jones, dear God. You fucking bring Harrison Ford and his decrepit ass out there, and it's like, what? Who asked for this? Nobody asked for this. And you could really see the real fall of Hollywood's ability to create good media around the new Star Wars trilogy, when we started making new Star Wars movies that were created by Disney. If you look very closely at those movies, and a lot of those movies is essentially a new fangle-dangled paint job of the original trilogy. You even have essentially a copy of the Battle of Hoth in one of the movies. That's lame. That's not creative. We live in a zombie culture. How does that even happen? One might ask. Again, it's so difficult to try and pinpoint where, but you can tell when it started happening. And it's very noticeable nowadays. And for the pieces of media that are good, my God, you like, for example, Joker. You can see with Joker. Joker was a good movie. I remember watching that movie. But when they made the sequel to that fucking movie, holy shit. It seems as if the artists held the fans in contempt. Because who asked for a second Joker movie to be a fucking musical? And those who liked musicals said it was a shit musical. Who wants this crap? Who wants it? I don't. Who asked for this? So it's very disheartening looking at all this shit. That, even some of the good artists hold some of the fans in contempt. Why is that? That makes no sense. Why would you ruin a franchise because you just dislike your audience? That's so petty. That's so petty. But media nowadays is just so dead. Culture is zombified. So what can we do? What can an average Joe do about it? Well, you just have to be much more discerning about what is good media and what is bad media. That's the real core of the issue right there. Because if we just keep letting this stuff happen, we keep just consuming the garbage, and it'll never change. And to be frank, we are seeing things come crashing down where you can't just reuse stuff for so much. For example, the video game industry, the AAA video game industry is going to crash. It's not a sustainable model to try and just rehash and reuse the slop. But again, I don't have much faith in people to be able to be willing to control their impulses and say, I'm not going to engage with this, or I'm not going to play this game, because it seems like so many people have such poor impulse control that they allow the slop to continue. So fundamentally, you got to not consume slop, and you gotta be able to have a creative mind of your own. That's how you be able to win. That's how you win. That's how we can have a culture that's actually worth a shit. That's how it is. But man, it's so bad. But that's all you gotta do. You gotta put your focus on that. All that media that is shit, and put it into something much more worthwhile.